Okay. Hello and welcome. Today I'm filming my 2021 book review video. I actually have never been a person that's been into reading whatsoever except for this year. So I'm just reviewing all the books that I've read since pretty much June to now. So I have all the books with me. I'm reviewing 9 total. I only have 7 physical copies. The other 2 are audiobooks, but I thought I would include them. So I'm just gonna go in order of how I read the books throughout the year and give you my review of the book. I'm not gonna give any spoilers in this video, so don't worry about it. I'm not a spoily person. If you like this style of video, go ahead and like the video. It's my first book review, first book content on this channel, so let me know if you like it because I could definitely do more of them. Oh, also comment down below your favorite book. I'm trying to put together a list of books for the next year, just for my to read list. I have a lot of books that whatever, it doesn't matter. And also go follow me on Goodreads if you care to know what I'm currently reading or what I'm gonna read or what I have read. Okay, so the first book that I read was Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. So this book gives a series of examples of traditionally successful people and the statistics behind why they were successful. I think that it was written in a very familiar voice. Like, I love Malcolm Gladwell's writing style. It's very similar to the way he speaks in his podcast if you're familiar with revisionist history. My overall thoughts on this one is just a good book to read, a good book just to know why people end up where they do and like what kind of effort gets put in, and sometimes just what kind of luck comes out and results in people being successful. So I think anybody would really like this read. It's pretty universal. I will say the only downside of this book is it kind of left me wanting more. Like, the stories were so fascinating and so interesting that I just like wanted more stories to come, and it just kind of felt like it ended pretty abruptly for me. So good book, still wanted more. So I'll give this book 4 stars. It's like a fuzzy flying around. Okay, so the next book that I read was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. So this book, I feel like, gave a really romanticized view of the creative process. It was particularly focused on writers, but I think really if you're an artist in any kind of way or a creative in any kind of way, it could apply to you as well. And I feel like this book was written in a voice that kind of feels like you're just talking to a friend, like a close friend. So I really enjoyed this book. My husband actually read this as well. I don't think he liked it as much, if I'm being honest. So overall, I think this book is really light, really refreshing, and definitely a book that you would read if you are in a creative space at all, or you kind of are looking for some new creativity, you're looking for something inspiring. I liked it. It was just a light, easy read, like nothing too heavy. Overall, I would give it 3.5 stars. So the next book that I read was actually Stay Sexy by Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. So if you're familiar with the My Favorite Murder podcast, they are the creators of that. I'm a big fan of My Favorite Murder. This is basically a dual memoir of the My Favorite Murder gals. So it feels like advice from like your older sister. I really like the way this was written. I listened to it as an audiobook because obviously like I love their voices. You don't necessarily need to know their podcast to appreciate the book. Both women that wrote the book actually lived pretty relatable lives, and I think anybody would find it just like a nice fun read. So this book was definitely full of ups and downs. I literally laughed, I cried, I don't know, it was just a whole vibe. Like the whole thing just really took me there, just emotionally. I feel like it was really nicely told as a memoir. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I'm really stingy with those 5s. So the next book that I read was Beach Read. This was a huge book this past year. I think a lot of people love this book, and for good reason. This book is a contemporary romance book. I honestly just think it was just such like an enchanting little read. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I always wanted to read it. This was really the book, I think more so than any of the other books, that got me kind of addicted to reading. Like, this was one of the books that I read every single night and until I finished it. I mean, it was just like really good. Early on in the book, probably within like the first 20 pages, I was just like in there, like I wanted to figure out what happened. The rest of the book, just the pace was really nice so that you were never too bored with the progression of things. I felt myself getting excited and getting nervous and getting, just like all the emotions of the main character. Overall, I think that it just really accurately captured the process of falling in love and just living life just generally. So yeah, I would highly recommend if you're looking for a feel-good book. Probably my favorite book that I read. I don't know, can I say that? Yeah, I think this was my favorite book that I read all year. I'll go and say it right now. I'll say right now. So this book, I'm giving it a 4.5. And the next book that I read, again, another big TikTok book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this is a fiction novel. It's written as a fictional memoir of this fictional Hollywood icon and basically the secret life behind her 7 husbands. The fictional memoir is written by a young journalist who ends up having a secret connection to the Hollywood icon. So the book has really good pace, and I love the way that it's separated out by the 7 husbands. It's really easy to track your progress throughout the book, which is something I personally really care about. The end of the book is where it really speeds up, and then kind of from that point on, it's like twist after twist after twist. Even though the beginning is still pretty good, it's not as good as like the very end, which is, I mean, isn't that just the way it always is? It's kind of sad. I feel like this book definitely could have been longer. There were certain scenes that felt kind of rushed and certain scenes that definitely didn't have enough explanation in my opinion. I don't love long books, but it just felt like this was long in all the wrong ways, if that makes sense. Again, this book made me feel like a full range of emotions, so I mean there's definitely something to be said about that. And I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. I don't know why I say I think, I definitely did give it a 3.5 out of 5. Okay, this next book. A Perfect Couple by Elin Hilderbrand. Or is it Elin? Elin? Comment down below, I'm not sure. This book really had me. It's a fictional mystery written in like an all-knowing third person point of view. The story basically involves like a murder investigation. Again, I'm not giving away any spoilers, it's literally like in the first couple of pages. The book is divided by different characters who share their little piece of the puzzle. Information from the past that these characters have is kind of intertwined into the present day story of how everything all happened. This book was definitely one of those ones that I just couldn't put down. I literally read this book until my eyes would not stay open anymore. It was such a good book. I loved this one so much. She's kind of thick, I'm not gonna lie. This is a really thick book. So I would say this book really captured my attention from the beginning to the end. Like there was like no downtime for me. The only negative thing that I will say about this book is for a book that was written in 2019, it did feel like the language was sometimes a little dated, like something like nobody would say that in 2018. But other than that, other than like some soapy scenes and some scenes that don't make sense, I think it was really good. So overall, I think anybody would be very, very happy with this read. If you're into mystery, definitely, for sure, read this book. 4 stars. The next book is Death in the Air by Kate Winkler Dawson. She also has a podcast. I also listened to an audiobook. I was a little disappointed because it wasn't her voice. So it's whatever. So this is a historical nonfiction book. This book parallels the Great London Smog event in 1952 with the rise of a prominent serial killer at the same time. So this book really puts into perspective how different life was back then, before we knew the human impact of like climate and weather. And it's just kind of crazy to think about, like they literally had no idea that the smog was killing them. So I think the author does a really great job of putting this event into context from all perspectives. It sounds a little dry now that I'm saying this out loud, but I really enjoyed it. I'm very big into true crime, so this kind of book was right up my alley, especially with climate. It just kind of paralleled 2 things that I have a passion for. Overall, I feel like I learned a lot from this book. I enjoyed it as an audiobook, even though it wasn't Kate Winkler Dawson that read it. I think that ultimately, if I didn't read it as an audiobook, I may not have liked it as much. Really just kind of one of those books that's just like, you know, the more you know. So 3.5 stars. Okay, the next book, The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry again. I love Emily Henry's writing. I felt like I had to read this one after reading Beach Read and loving that one so much. This one is again a modern romance. This book explores a friendship over the course of several years. The friendship really comes alive when they're traveling together, and their relationship is explained through an annual trip, and that's what the said vacation is referring to. This book is told in kind of like a back and forth layout, cutting from the current summer to past summers and slicing the whole story together in that way. In my opinion, this book starts way slower than Beach Read did. It didn't really pick up for me until like almost halfway through the book. This book definitely made me feel like the excitement for travel again. I think if you're really into travel, this could be a nice book, or genuinely just like a good book to take with you on vacation. I think that would be nice. I thought some of the characters were a little unrealistic at times, but I definitely still felt like I felt something when I was reading this book, which isn't nothing, you know what I mean? I would definitely say that this is still a good book, just not as good as Beach Read in my opinion. It's a really fun read. If you like traveling, I think you'd really like this one. 3.5 stars. A little strat going over there. And finally, my last book, The Other Passenger by Louise Candlish. So this is a fictional mystery suspense book, which I think is one of my favorite genres at this point. So this book is written as a part interrogation, part retelling of past events through one character's point of view. The main character, Jamie, is questioned by the police when one of his close friends goes missing. The book is set in London, and it has some specific language and references that I completely missed as an American. It's a little embarrassing that I sometimes can't hear British people speak when they're just speaking English. Like I just can't. So in this book, there's definitely some language where I was like, what are they trying to say here? I genuinely don't know. I think this was a really, 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 really good book. I mean, more so than most of the other ones. It's interesting from the very beginning. So essentially this book has a huge twist that I absolutely did not see coming, and like more so in like the way that you think like a person goes missing, like there's only so many twists that could happen, but like really way more so than you would think. Like it was good. She got me. I did not see it coming. I love this book. I love a twist that's not predictable. This is definitely one of those books that I think I could read again and again and probably get something new out of it. So in that regard, you kind of have to think about it a little bit, which maybe you don't like, maybe that's not your vibe. That's my vibe. I like books that I can continually go back to and be like, wow, I didn't even see that there, and it was like there at the very beginning. Anyway, oh, also, this is one of the very few books that I was actually very happy with the way it ended. Most books I'm just left so unsatisfied with the ending, mostly because I'm sad that it's over, but also because the ending just wasn't very good. The end of this book was very well written. I think that she left herself enough time to really explain everything, and it didn't leave you feeling like a little dissatisfied. Like, it wasn't lazy writing is what I'm trying to say. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So this book was great from the beginning, super, super twisty in the middle, and then ended super, super nicely. So I think that this is truly a one-of-a-kind book, a gem in my opinion. Probably my favorite book other than Beach Read. Beach Read, favorite romance. This book, favorite mystery book. Such a good one. You know what? I'm gonna do it. This is a 5-star. This is a 5-star book. I'm gonna say it, okay? So that's all of my books from 2021. Turn on the notification bell for more videos like this one. Like the video if you like this video. Let me know what kind of book content you want to see, because I'm new to this. I genuinely don't know. Comment down below your favorite book. I would love to hear and put together a list for the next year for my to read list. All right, see you same time, same place next week. Bye. 7, 8, 9. 9. It's really unpleasant actually. The fridge is making a lot of noise. I'm so sorry. I feel like I said that weird. I should really cut this whole thing out, honestly. Let me just start over. I wasn't ready. I should probably try and get a thumbnail while I'm here. Looks so stupid.